Monza was fantastic for me, but this weekend we're here at Magny Cours.
Monza was my home race, but I hope Magny Cours will be good for me. Monza was a good start to my season. Magny Cours will be a step up, and I hope to do better in the future. In the last race at Monza, I was 8th in the first race, had a big crash in the second when I got pushed out by Farfus. Here in Magny Cours, I think we have a good chance to make the podium in one of the races. Monza was really fantastic for me, first and second. I'm in Magny Cours to do the same, coming here confident despite 45 kilos of ballast. My target is to score maximum points for the championship. Hello and welcome to rounds 3 and 4 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship. We're at Magny Cours, the home of the French Grand Prix, for the second race weekend in the new series. Well, after the cold conditions of Monza, a big surprise at Magny Cours, scorching sunshine, track temperatures of 55 degrees Celsius. Very, very hot conditions indeed. Very different from how testing was as well a month or so earlier. Seat had shown great pace there. Jaime Puig hopeful and expectant of perhaps a podium or two here against the might of BMW, who had also been very quick. But in the hot conditions, the front-wheel drive cars were certainly working their tyres very hard indeed. Jörg Müller claiming pole position. BMW have won the races in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, Jörg Müller won both. Dirk Müller and Andy Priaulx won a race apiece last year. It's a long while since the Alphas just drove away in 2002. But in testing, Seat was right on BMW's pace. The heat, though, seems to be having its effect. Although post-race weekend, Seat and Alfa would complain that BMW have a big advantage, their drivers admitted during the weekend that the tyres were not able to live in these track conditions the way they had in the cooler conditions testing here and at Monza. But for Rickard Rydell, a great result. Second quickest, Augusto Farfus Jr. Very, very demonstrative under braking at the Adelaide hairpin of how hard he was trying. He was third fastest, just 0.04 of a second slower than the Seat. And Dirk Müller, the championship leader after 2 race wins at Monza, only managing to qualify 8th quickest, but not bad with a 45 kilo weight penalty ballast. So the grid showing Jörg Müller on pole position and Rickard Rydell and Augusto Farfus the best of the front-wheel drive cars. Jörg Müller heading up page 2 in 9th place, just ahead of James Thompson in his Alfa. Top independent, Välimäkelä in the GR Asia Seat. So how did Jörg Müller view it?
I mean, from first free practice, we knew our car is good around here. We had a good test in May, so, you know, I'm without weight, which is a big help against my teammate. I'm pretty happy.
Rickard Rydell scored Seat's only win so far last year.
We were quick here in the winter testing, but we were really hoping to have a bit more speed. It was very, very difficult today. The track temperature is well over 50 degrees, so the car is handling quite difficult with oversteer, understeer, but I'm very happy to be second for sure, but the times were very, very close.
Big crash during practice for Frank Diefenbacher, having his first start of the season. Suffered a fracture to his lumbar vertebra. Expected to stay immobilized for 3 weeks before he's transported back to Germany. And it'll be a few months before the German driver returns to the wheel of the car. Well, it seems he had a total brake failure at Chateau d'Eau. Major scare for him, but fortunate to get away without too much injury. And also fortunate to escape without injury towards the end of the morning warm-up. Tom Coronel's car lunched its engine in the chicane. And as he scarpered to safety on the inside of the circuit by the pit lane entry, the marshals were left to try and deal with the wreckage. Despite yellow flags, one of the Fords, that of Thomas Jaeger, came perilously close to really badly injuring one of the marshals. And then some 3 minutes after the car had stopped, this happened to Nicola Larini. Oil clearly down on the track, yellow flags being waved furiously all around the circuit, and yet Nicola Larini slammed into the stationary car. That brought out the red flag, but far too late. There was a very, very high risk to all the marshals. Tom Coronel, despite trying to flag cars down, couldn't avoid the damage. You can see again how slippery the track looks. That's the oil from Coronel's engine. And those marshals, well, they don't get any pay. They certainly don't get danger money. What they do demand is respect of yellow flags from the drivers. No penalties were handed out for those incidents, which is a little bit of a surprise, to say the least. Hello, welcome to Magny Cours for race 3 of the World Touring Car Championship. On pole is the BMW driver Jörg Müller, and at the back of the field, Thomas Klenke and Thomas Jaeger after engine changes to their Fords, stretching round the chicane, the grid. So it's BMW, Seat, Alfa Romeo and BMW. And look at the BMW start. See Andy Priaulx come up between the front row starters. Ricardo Rydell being dropped away at the start by the BMWs. And there goes Antonio Garcia. He's got ahead of Tarquini and the number 7 car, which is James Thompson. So again, as Farfus rather, as we expect from the BMWs, quick starting from the rear-wheel drive cars. David Leslie, Magny Cours doesn't make any difference. Rear drive cars just get away off the line better than front drivers.
Yes, we've said this many times how much better the rear-wheel drive can get off the line, and they've done that here. You can see that immediately how Andy Priaulx, see what a lead the first two BMWs have got over the front-wheel drive of Ricardo Rydell in third place.
12 laps to go. Rydell will have to defend hard for all 11 3/4 if he's to keep Garcia behind him. Antonio Garcia carrying weight ballast, as are, well, Andy Priaulx in front of him, not Jörg Müller, but also Dirk Müller and James Thompson after success in Monza. On board with Nicola Larini, the best of the Chevrolets, a little further back. And the track now much rubbered up after the 3-hour GT race compared to qualifying. Little rub from the Alfa Romeo, forces Garcia out wide. That long tightening left-hander is a great place to pass if you can do it. The flag, the tricolore on the roof, marks it out as an Italian. That is Tarquini, and he gets in front. Looking back then from Ricardo Rydell's Seat, Tarquini now up to 4th. Garcia got edged a little further back, and then it's Farfus and Dirk Müller ahead of the two Seats there. Hane with Giovanardi ahead of Terting, and then the other Alfa Romeo at the back is James Thompson. Then you get the independents coming thick and fast, and the fastest of the independent drivers in the qualifying was Vali Markkila, whose car was heavily damaged in a 3-car incident with Tom Coronel's car in the morning warm-up. But across the line at the end of the first lap, it is the poleman, Jörg Müller, Andy Priaulx behind. You could pretty much have predicted that from the grid. They were 1st and 4th, with front-wheel drive cars 2nd and 3rd. But interesting here to see Garcia under such pressure from Augusto Farfus. Garcia quick in qualifying. Maybe the different track conditions have not helped him so much here. But again, watch the BMs. They all start quickly.
You can see the BMs will get away. They just accelerate away. And if you look at all the front-wheel drive cars, the Alfa Romeo and the Seat, we're looking here from behind of out of Rydell's car. They all had wheels from the front. You can see the white smoke coming from the wheels in front. But down into the Adelaide hairpin for the first time, you can see what a bottleneck that is, how everybody closes up as they try and get round that hairpin down there.
Well, we saw the second of the white BMWs, Dirk Müller back there in the queue, the championship leader, got away very smartly, but David under braking with 45 kilos extra weight in his car, as well as under acceleration around here. Alain Menu is off, and so too is the 30-car Stefano D'Aste on the Pro Team BMW, and that's bad news for Alain Menu, whose car was heavily damaged as well at Monza. It's been a really tough start to the season for the Swiss in his first year racing, indeed in Chevrolet's first year racing in the World Touring Car Championship. Waking up and smelling the taste of victory, perhaps. Jörg Müller in a moment or two. 3 years ago when we came here, Fabrizio Giovanardi won both races for Alfas. That's when Alfa Romeos could pull out and pass anything in a straight line and just drive away. 2 years ago, 2003, Jürg won both races, the first back-to-back wins of the season. And last year, Dirk Müller won race 1, Andy Priaulx won race 2. Jaime Puig there on the Seat pit wall, whereas Ricard Riedel continues to try and defend third place, and has done so from the start from Gabriele Tarquini. Another car off there on the outside of the circuit. Looks like one of the Seat Italia cars, one of the privateer entries, or perhaps one of the GR Asia cars, Vali Makela or Tom Coronel, not sure which. Not sure if we've got Alessandro Balzan still in the race either. No, I think it might be Balzan that has pulled off at the side of the circuit. Already lost Stefano D'Aste, Adam Lacco and Alan Menu. Nicola Larini's car in the pits, but that may well be able to start race 2. Tarquini's camera makes Riedel look a long way away in third place as well. Probably feels like a long way away as well when you're an Alfa Romeo driver and a Seat is driving past you and or driving away from you. P1 plus 2, 6 laps. That's the halfway mark then for Jürg Müller, leading from Andy Priaulx, BMWs 1 and 2. And although they're both factory salary drivers, David Leslie, there's not going to be much love lost between them. They race for different teams, and there's probably as much competition between the Schnitzer team and BMW UK as there is between those drivers and anybody else out on the track, I would have thought.
Without doubt. We've seen it last year, all the way right down to the very last race in Macau last year when Andy actually won the championship on countback. He was racing right to the very end, and yes, they are BMWs. Andy is now, this year, 2005, a works driver. He wasn't last year. He was simply a privateer entrant with a little bit of help from BMW, but this year he's been moved up a step and he's got a lot more help from BMW. And Alfa Romeo, there you can see, trying very, very hard indeed, bouncing over that curb and using more of it than he should do. There is a limit to how much of that curb you can actually use on that particular part of the circuit, and the Alfa was obviously got carried away and used a little bit more than he should have done.
Nicola Larini, he is the lead Chevy at the moment, and Chevrolet launching this weekend their brand new road car, like the race cars built by RML in the glorious, salubrious confines of Wellingborough, Northamptonshire. And if I could find my piece of paper, I could tell you exactly the nomenclature. It's something like the Lachetti R+. There you go, of course, why wouldn't it be? Which is launched this weekend. And 172 brake horsepower, 2-litre turbo version of the Chevrolet Lachetti. Probably not one that you can go and buy from the dealership forecourt, I would have thought. Look at that. Glorious stuff. Jürg Müller sliding a saloon car as it's supposed to be slid. And 5 laps to go for Dirk Müller as well. A little bit further back, just exiting the chicane. Priaulx second, Riedel still third for Seat. There's the red Alfa of Tarquini. Fifth is Garcia, and he has shaken off Farfus. Now, we didn't see the Brazilian make a mistake, but he clearly has, because Jorge Hane has gone up to 6th. Or is Farfus being clever, figured out he's not going to get past, and they might drop back to 8th place and try and win race 2?
We did say earlier on about the top 8 in this race do get reversed before you get to the second race, and remembering what happened with James Thompson at Monza, he started off on the front row of the grid at Monza and went on to win that race, the second race. So maybe Farfus is thinking, well, in actual fact, if I drop back to 7th or 8th, I could be that person.
Right, he's dropped back behind Jorge Hane and behind Dirk Müller, but dropping back is a dangerous game to play, because right behind them is Fabrizio Giovanardi. And if you're in 8th and your teammate Giovanardi is in 9th, with the option of passing you somewhat chancily perhaps and starting race 2 from pole, don't think he's not going to try it. So I think maybe more likely is that Farfus made a mistake and got passed by the 2 cars that were right up behind him.
Yes, we did see that. We know from history, certainly from last year, that Farfus made a number of mistakes. And we know the interview with him that we had at Monza, he said that he really has got to stop those mistakes and concentrate on going forward. Sort of mistake he made at Hoffenheim last year when he managed to wipe out the whole of the Alfa Romeo team in one corner. Really didn't go down very well within the team, so maybe he's had yet more of those little errors that he tends to make now and again.
By 888.com.
Now, Jörg Müller, in fact, may have the opportunity to make this a triple race-winning weekend here. No, he's not running in the GTs or the Alpha 147 Challenge, but he did win a AM is a bit kind for it, a racing driver and journalist kart race on Saturday afternoon. Jörg was teamed with cameraman Cristiano Beretta in the pen and helmet 40-minute kart enduro stroke demolition derby, depending on whether you were racing or paying the bills afterwards. So congratulations to them. Second place, quite incredibly, Rob Huff from Chevrolet managed to take second despite being lumbered with Andrew Cotton, well-known journalist, scribe of this parish paddock. And in third place, Giuseppe Ciro, and Eurosport's even more of a handicap, Philippe Assal from our production team on site. He was in third position, so congratulations to them. But Jörg Müller then on target for race number 2.
I think the BMW drivers have said earlier on in the interviews this morning when we had the warm-up that Magny Cours is definitely a BMW circuit. They feel it's the right circuit for their cars. They feel that they're very, very strong with the BMW here at Magny Cours compared to, say, what the Alfa Romeos normally are at Monza, for instance. Although I have to say the BMW must have been doing an awful lot of work on their cars over the winter, because they seem to be strong everywhere they go now. They were strong at Monza, which they never used to be. They've always been strong here at Magny Cours, and they're looking very, very strong here at this moment in time, with Jörg Müller running away with it basically at the front, and Andy Priaulx making a very good start to take his second place. And only after those two then you start with the front-wheel drive cars. First of all of the Seat, and Seat have always said since we started talking at the beginning of the year that Magny Cours is a very good circuit for them. They've had a very good 3-day test here earlier in the year during their winter test, and they said that they went very well here. They were very happy with their test, and they reckon they were doing times as good as what the BMW was. Well, certainly they're doing very well indeed, because they're currently lying third and on a podium position at this moment in time, but not quite as good as the two BMWs up front.
Well, the big problem, what's really changed, is it's part of the ever-changing nature of Magny Cours. There's something in the track surface here, in the tarmac that they race on, that really, really reacts very quickly to sunshine. And there is lots of sunshine this weekend as Jörg Müller romps to race 1 victory. Track temperature, 60 degrees. Flag there waved by Richard Veronk, the former King of the Mountains. So Jörg Müller wins. Andy Priaulx second for BMW. Rydell still happy with the podium. He said he would be. Now, of course, he won't be, because he wanted to win. Tarquini fourth, Garcia fifth, and Augusto Farfus and Jordi Hane will start on the front row of the reverse grid, with Peter Terting, the best of the rest, in 9th ahead of Giovanardi. Tomo down in 11th place behind Fabio, bit of a shame. Mark Enrici passing Carl Rosenblatt on the penultimate lap for top independent spot.
No, it's never easy. I mean, it was very hot outside, and the tires dropped quite a lot, I think, on all of the cars. So I really had to fight to keep my car in front. Yeah, but I'm quite happy. Monsieur Virenque gave me a winner T-shirt before the race, so thanks to Monsieur Virenque.
And do you think this really is an unbeatable track for the BMWs? Because in history, well, in the last 2 years anyway.
I hope so. Wait for the second race and we'll see.
Thank you, Jörg.
So Jörg Müller claims that top spot on the podium, and in 60-degree track temperatures, it's never going to be easy for the front-wheel drive cars to match the rear drive cars, because the front end you're looking at now slows the car down and steers. The back end produces all the horsepower traction.
You did a great start, so that was your race for you, because did you have to fight off other people as well?
Well, at first I thought Ricard was going to push me quite hard, but I managed to make a good break on the first couple of laps, and then it was a question of trying to catch Jörg and just maintain a good rhythm for the whole race. So didn't make any mistakes. It was difficult. About halfway through the race somebody dropped some oil, made it quite slippery, but overall just a consistent job, and I'm happy to be second. We've still got a bit of work to do.
Thank you.
Mainly on the telephone to Bavaria, saying, oi, how come we haven't got the parts that the Schnitzer team have? At least that's what the RBM team thought was the deal at Monza. Andy Priaulx, though, in second place, and as he said at the beginning of the season, the game plan until the final race weekend is to get as many points every time you're on the track as you possibly can. And when you get to the last race weekend at Macau, that's when you worry about the title.
This is the first podium for Seat, which is great, but are you a little bit disappointed because you started second and didn't finish second?
Well, after the winter testing, we thought that the car would be very, very quick here at Magny Cours. But we realized that the BMW has a little bit of an edge, and halfway or one-third through the race, I started to have a little bit of difficulties with the front. Being a front-wheel drive car, it pushes the tires that little bit harder, and this track is quite hard on tires. So I was quite pleased with the podium anyway, and happy for Seat.
Thank you.
There you go, you see, you can't keep a good man down. He said before the race we'd be happy with the podium. He's got a podium, he's unhappy because he didn't win it. You can't stop them trying, can you? So Seat then, the top front-wheel drive cars, but the difference between now and winter testing, probably about 30 or 40 degrees of track temperature. And of course it's going to be scorching at Silverstone in a fortnight's time as well. Round 4 of the World Touring Car Championship about to get underway. Cars have left the grid. They're on their warm-up lap now. Augusto Farfus and Hody Kane leading them round 8th and 7th in race 1. Start on the front row of the grid. Dirk Muller, the points leader, and Antonio Garcia on row 2. Should get by them before the first corner. Tarquini and Rydell, great battle in race 1. That'll be resumed in race 2. As Priaulx and Jörg Muller, the race 1 winner, will probably get by them from the start. Then Peter Terting, Fabrizio Giovanardi, they had a good battle. James Thompson, the 4th of the Alphas. The top 2 privateers, Henrici and Rosenblatt in their BMWs, ahead of Vali Makela in the Seats. They were the top 3 privateers. Nicola Lorini, 17th on the grid, 19th for Rob Huff, the second of the Chevy drivers. And Alain Menu, we saw his car in trouble. Tommy Coronel's car damaged in the morning warm-up, and an engine change as well for that one. So struggling here in the GR Asia team. Alain Menu will line up 28th on the grid. Stefano D'Aste, Thomas Klenker and Adam Lacko, we saw all having problems in race 1. And as we watch the long crocodile of cars weaving their way down the hill, warming the tyres up, I see only 2 Chevrolets, mind you. There are more coming round the corner. There is Klenker, D'Aste, Jaeger. I don't see an Alain Menu. So it looks as though the Swiss will not start this race either. What a tough start to the season. Monica Sips, the boss of the Alfa Romeo racing team, nay Auto Delta, nay whatever they were called before Auto Delta, I forget, Entec. The Alfa Romeo factory team run by Monica and husband Mauro. Rickard Rydell ready to take the start from the middle of the top half dozen. Thomas Klenker from the tail of the field. Ready to get round 4 of the World Touring Car Championship underway at Magny Cours. Thomas Klenker coming to the tail of the field, finally gets to weave through the chicane. But on pole position, Augusto Farfus in the red Alfa Romeo, Hody Kane alongside in the multicoloured Seat with the yellow nose. Red lights go on, the revs rise, the clutches bite, away they go. Here come the BMWs from behind. It's Dirk Muller, the points leader in the white nose, and the blue nose of Antonio Garcia. They get through, but a storming start from Farfus means that it will not be a BMW that leads into the Adelaide hairpin for the first time. Great drive through as well from Gabriele Tarquini. The red Alfa Romeo gets by Rickard Rydell, which he couldn't do for the entire 12-lap distance of race 1, does it away from the start. This is his bumper cam chasing Garcia, and Garcia is chasing Dirk Muller, and Dirk Muller, with 45 kilos of penalty weight from success at Monza, is struggling to try and stay with Augusto Farfus. The young Brazilian giving himself every opportunity to win this race. Rydell sees a lunge down the outside come from the Alfa Romeo. And that is the number 2 car of Gabriele Tarquini. Big bunch together, a little bit of nudging and boring. One of the Seats gets pushed out on the grass, and that yellow strip, I think, is Peter Terting's windscreen strip, but still Augusto Farfus leading. David, he's really got to try and make a break now before his tyres go off.
We were talking about it in race 1, thinking that maybe he was dropping back or maybe he made a mistake. We weren't too sure, but he ended up in 8th place in order to try and get that pole position. And he certainly seemed to be making very good use of it at this moment in time. He got a very good start off the line. He really did get that car off the line, and the BMWs weren't able to beat him to the first corner. So he's going to try and use this now and try and stretch that lead, just as the BMWs did in the first race. He wants to try and stretch himself away. He's got a clear road in front of him. But here at the back we can see that Honda right behind that Seat. That was the 2 cars that had coming together before. Colgiaggio had a bit of a bang with tethering with that car, and unfortunately I've seen him do this more than once.
This is the view of Antonio Garcia's bumper from Gabriele Tarquini, who is not the top Alfa at the moment. Farfus for Alfa, Muller, Dirk for BMW, Garcia for BMW, then Tarquini, then the white car, number 42 of Jürg Muller, our race 1 winner. Then it is Ricard Riedel, I beg your pardon, Jordi Canet, then Andy Priaulx, and then Gabriele Tarquini. Ricard Riedel has dropped down the order a little bit, so Riedel is now in Group 2 of the chasing pack. As the BMW takes a look, Dirk Muller hot on the heels of Augusto Farfus, and that 45 kilos weight penalty bringing him right up behind the back bumper. And here we go, the move is on again. Alfa Romeo trying to get alongside the BMW but couldn't. Jürg Muller came around the outside of Gabriele Tarquini there in a classic Adelaide hairpin move. Tarquini was fighting back, you saw from the onboard, couldn't do it. Jürg Muller, the race 1 winner, up to 4th on lap 2 of this 4th race in the World Touring Car Championship. It was barely time to draw a breath all weekend at Monza, and Magny Cours is producing just as exciting racing. This championship is getting closer and closer and tighter and tighter. Farfus for Alfa, Dirk Muller, the white BMW, Antonio Garcia, the blue and white BMW, then Jürg Muller in 4th, and Dirk Muller looks again around Farfus, really trying to pressurize the Brazilian into a mistake. I think he feels that there is definitely a weakness in Augusto Farfus that he can exploit, and he needs to hurry up because there is now a queue behind our race leader, and Dirk is taking the long way around at the Lycée hairpin. Can't get through there. He may have left the door open for 2 more BMWs to get through. No, just gets his nose back in front. David, this is classic cut and thrust racing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars with not a car length between them.
Yeah, we thought that originally that Farfus would pull away, but he hasn't been able to do that, and they've all sort of closed up on him. He seems to be the one who's holding everybody up, and you've just got this big long queue of cars queued up behind Farfus, all wanting past him, all wanting past each other, and nobody's going to give away at all.
Well, away from the grid, the BMWs start quickly. They ate up a Seat or 2 each. Look at that, 1 on either side. Poor Jordi Canet had to stand on the brake pedal because there was nothing but metal in front of him, and he couldn't find a gap to go through. Jürg Muller has been eased a little further down the order. Look, he's got Garcia on the outside of him now. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're 2 abreast, 2 by 2. So that's Dirk Muller in front of us as we ride with Jürg. Farfus is still leading and defending hard, but as the race goes on in these 60-degree track temperatures, the front tyres of the Alfa Romeo will not hold on as well as the BMWs. He'll be finding it scrabbling wider and wider away from where he's pointing it at the apex of the corner, trying to get up to the curbs. He's going to have to aim further and further inside at the grass to get it to go all the way there. And the BMWs, well, they're not sitting and waiting. They are really pushing, really pressurizing him into making that mistake. But Farfus still holds on. Garcia in 4th. 5th is Tarquini. You can see them on the inset picture as we ride on board with Dirk Muller. Great action, great pictures here. Look at this, it really puts you in the Droel passenger seat, effectively, I suppose. And Andy Priaulx now trying to get around Tarquini off the Adelaide hairpin. Monica Sips, the far face in the picture there on the right-hand side. This is not an encouraging performance here for the Alfa Romeo team. Farfus with the BMWs behind, and Jürg looking there at Dirk almost to get inside him off the Lycée hairpin as they all thunder over the curbs.
These cars really are, as we said, absolutely nose to tail. Nobody's giving way to anybody else. Everybody's trying to get the last little inch. If anybody tries to make a move to go round the outside of somebody, then somebody else will dive down the inside of them, and all of a sudden you lose a place. So, you know, it's a nose to tail. It is a lot of cars. There's some 30-odd cars started this race. And here you can see something like 10 or 11 cars fighting for the lead, nose to tail.
It's like being on the Autostrada, isn't it? Jürg Muller closing up. Look at the aerodynamic effect. He's actually almost rubbing the back of Dirk Muller's car. They're still side by side. Dirk trying to go around. Can't get outside Farfus. That's it. Alfa's tyres finally gave up. And look at Tarquini. Tarquini knows not even a half chance, but a quarter chance when he sees one. And behind the Dior specs, the impassive face of Monica Sips. But She doesn't have to express anything. It's all there. Tarquini locking up as well, or smoke rubbing off something. He must have had a rub with somebody. Left front fender is rubbing on the tyre under braking. Farfus's tyres couldn't hold on, and Tomo around the outside of Hordy-Hene. Can he hold it? He is a man who can hold a slide. Son of a rallying father. He's got those genes.
That was Hordy-Hene just getting inside and giving a bit of a tap to Thompson there. And Thompson back of the car coming out. Thompson was able to hold on to that. That was good driving, hanging onto a car that somebody's trying to push off the circuit with.
Dirk Müller, Jörg Müller, Antonio Garcia, BMW 1, 2, 3, then Gabriele Tarquini, Augusto Farfus, Andy Priaulx, Hordy-Hene, Roberto Colciago's got himself up there in the thick of it against all the best factory cars. And Farfus, wow, I tell you what, Dirk just held on there somehow. He was being knocked straight as Farfus just shot across the corner, and he somehow held on despite all that weight penalty. He is still our race leader, but I think Jörg Müller is poised, placed perfectly to take the lead. He's looking already across the start-finish line. Look, the shadow shows that Dirk is just about 3/4 of a length ahead. Jörg tucks back in behind. Daren't even breathe the throttle here. He's got to keep it buried or the Alphas will be all over him. Never mind Garcia, but he's got to get by Dirk, and here's the chance. Adelaide hairpin. Look, he's closing on this long run through Gulf and down to the Adelaide hairpin. Dirk knows it's coming. He knows there's not much he can do about it. He'll have to give up at some stage. Jörg's inside him. Now, Dirk has to defend against Garcia. Priaulx's having a look at Tarquini. Can't do it. Can Jörg get through? Yes. Can Dirk hold off Garcia? Yes. And the Alphas, look, Farfus and Tarquini side by side. Farfus is coming back.
Farfus is trying very hard to get past Tarquini.
He's trying very hard to have a crash with somebody at the moment, maybe.
And Priaulx was just sitting there waiting to see if he could pick a place up. Priaulx was just trying to get forward, just is frightened to get involved between these two Alfa Romeos in case he gets taken off. He knows he needs to score points. He knows he needs to stay on this circuit to keep on going, and getting stuck in between two Italians in Alfa Romeos really isn't the right thing to do.
In sixth position at the moment. Well, I guess Andy Priaulx might perhaps hope that something does happen between Tarquini and Farfus. Just a little nudge to rub them both out wide, and he can slip up the inside. You never know. 7th place, Hordy-Hene. 8th, Roberto Colciago. 9th, James Thompson. But they're further back. In fact, Tomo's got back past Colciago. Either that or it's Giovanardi. Not sure which. Priaulx's car starting to step out a little at the back oversteering. Looking back from the Seat of Ricardo Rydell.
He's managed to drop quite a way down. I think he got eaten up in the melee in the first 2 or 3 laps, and somehow or other he's managed to drop down to 11th.
Priaulx looking to the inside in the back of the picture. Can't get through, but that's a mistake by Tarquini. So Farfus does get by. Priaulx can't. Every time he tries to make a move, there's one of those wretched red machines in the way as they go past the abandoned car of Fale Macula. It's still BMW 1, 2, 3. Tarquini chasing Farfus. That's
sponsored by 888.com.
27 cars started this race, 26 continue as the BMWs lead the top 3, but Dirk Müller in second place defending hard. Andy Priaulx in amongst the Alfa Romeos. This is Antonio Garcia with the blue highlights on his BMW, trying to pass our championship leader. Huge lock-up at the Adelaide hairpin. Looked right, looked left, and there was still no safe way to cross. Right behind is Gabriele Tarquini's viewpoint. That's Andy Priaulx, who's got past Tarquini and chasing Augusto Farfus. Here's the Alfa team boss, Monica Sips. Well, Priaulx still trying to get past Farfus. 4th is better than 5th in terms of points. And of course, if he gets to 4th and latches onto Garcia, 4th is effectively the back of the battle for 2nd, whereas behind Farfus, it certainly isn't. Replay from Tarquini's viewpoint. Couldn't get it slowed down in time, and the Seat just lunged through on the inside. He wasn't there off the Lycée hairpin the previous corner. So, was that Steve Saleen alongside, I don't think, very Steve Saleen-y looking sort of face. I'm not quite sure it was. Quick glimpse of him on the Seat pit wall alongside.
And that's Priaulx eventually getting past Farfus, who's sat there and following for quite a few laps now. And eventually he's managed to get past down to the Adelaide hairpin.
Jaime Puig was the name I was looking for there. Couldn't get up. Anyway, so yes, Priaulx does move up. He is now up into 4th place. And the most important thing is to get latched onto Antonio Garcia, because I know that Andy thinks he's got more speed than Garcia has in him and in the car. And if he can get there in 4th place on the back of the BMW Italia Spain car, then 3rd place and who knows, maybe even 2nd place ahead of Dirk Muller is a possibility. 7 laps they are working on now, and inside Rydell comes Carl Rosenblatt, and right behind, oh my goodness, and look on the left-hand side of the picture, on the right-hand side of the driver, that is, well, it's not Larini, it's Colciago with Peter Terting, Ricard Rydell, Colciago. There is Carl Rosenblatt, and right behind is Nicola Larini. Look at this. Now, if Larini gets the brakes in the 22 Chevy, he could move from below the fold on the paper in the lap scorers to above the fold in the paper. There could be 3 places on offer there. So this is some good racing, and look at that. He's got Rob Huff next up, or 2 cars behind him. So there is Peter Terting, Roberto Colciago, the red and white Honda, and he and Carl Rosenblatt are the only non-factory built cars in this group, and in fact in the top 15. So they are both putting in some pretty sterling effort. Look at Larini pulling alongside the BMW. He's got the line on Rosenblatt. Now this is very encouraging, David. In race 2, the Chevrolets are really starting to pick up the pace. I know that you were joking with Mark Busfield, the team manager, this morning about the 165 jobs on the job sheet. How many have they got done? They've got a few worked through, certainly, haven't they? It is looking better as Priaulx, true to form, catches Garcia in 1 lap and goes straight by at the Adelaide hairpin. Priaulx's 3rd. Next target, the heavily laden with success ballast, Dirk Muller for 2nd position. Jörg Muller leads, and he's pulling away now, the race 1 winner, but Priaulx is the man on the charge. Did well, I think, to avoid trouble with the Alphas earlier on, to keep his powder dry, not get hit, and as the Alphas tyres went away, then press home the advantage the BMW has, and now he's reaping those rewards. Patience, patience, patience.
He certainly knows where the strengths of the BMW are, and he's used them to the best of his ability. And he just had to sit and wait for a little while in the middle of the race to dispose of or quietly get past the 2 Red Alfa Romeos. Having done that, he was able to quickly sort of drive away from them. And as you said, within 1 lap, caught Garcia. And if you catch somebody quickly and you get past them straight away, it's great. If you catch somebody, you don't get past them, you tend to get stuck behind them. And he obviously, when he was coming up behind Garcia, caught him very quickly. I think probably before Garcia realised it, all of a sudden there he was beside him and past him. And I'm sure he'll be wanting to try and do the same thing to Dirk Muller. If he can do that and get himself back up into 2nd place behind Jörg again, that will be a fantastic result for Andy this weekend.
Tarquini's onboard view showed us Giovanardi. Gio has gone by Gabrielli, and saw that battle developing in the background. Top Alpha at the moment, then Farfus, and behind those 2, the next Alpha you can see, that's the reigning British Touring Car champion James Thompson in lowly for Alfa Romeo, 9th place. 7th, 8th and 9th are those 3 Alphas. Top Alpha, Farfus still in 5th place, and the way his tyres went off in the lead, I have to say I'm surprised that he managed to hang on. 3 to go, and Priaulx needs to make the move on Dirk Muller on this lap if it's going to happen. But Muller in the middle of the road, he's taking well, Midland leg there, and Andy having to go down the offside. Doesn't work for him there. Dirk knows all the tricks that the BMW has to offer, and despite the extra weight, he's getting the retardation done just enough to hold off Priaulx. But Andy has the advantage in terms of the competitiveness of the car. He's carrying less in the way of success ballast than Dirk Muller. But, well, not an awful lot less. He still also has a bit of ballast on board the car after a successful weekend at Monza. So Jörg Muller, 2 years ago, winner of both races. You're looking at the guys who won last year. Dirk won race 1, Andy won race 2. And Giovanardi, well, 2002's double race winning weekend for Alfa probably seems quite a long way away by now. And so it is. That's very much history. The days when the red wedge could just pull out of the slipstream of anything, accelerate by and disappear into the distance, no matter what the incline or gradient, track conditions, ambient weather or anything was. Those are all long gone. BMW have caught them, and Seat have caught them as well.
It's the acceleration out of this corner here, out of this right hand. He needs to get a good acceleration out of this corner and a good slipstream along this big straight here. We see the leader now. That was Jörg just going down, and here's Dirk with Andy right behind. And this is where he needs to be really strong. If he can pull out of his slipstream down into this, the Adelaide hairpin, then that's an opportunity for him. But lots and lots of defensive driving by Dirk as he goes in there. Right down the inside he went.
I haven't seen such bizarre looks at the hairpins since I last watched a race at Mallory Park. Goodness me. Dirk Muller on the white line. Andy Priaulx looking inside, outside, up the middle, anywhere he could. Great defensive work from Dirk Muller, and to give them their due, they have not yet been caught by Antonio Garcia either, so they are still clearly a little quicker than the Spaniard. But Farfus is closing in on the 4th place BMW, but not quickly enough. Well, Andy certainly gave it a try there. It's not the only passing place by any means on this circuit, but it is the most obvious and the most easily spotted. Problems. Oh, that's a shame. Jordi Canet has blown a tyre. Surely that's... No, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's... What's he hit?
It's certainly some body work rubbing on the... it's like the wing has come loose at the back of the...
it's folded the wings come loose forward over the top of the tyre. Now, how on earth has that happened anyway? Canet in trouble in 6th place. And Priaulx locking up heavily behind Dirk Muller. He's got to be careful of Antonio Garcia. 3rd is better than 4th. It's not as good as 2nd, but it's better than 4th. A point might be all that goes between winning and losing this championship. Last year, of course, Dirk Muller and Andy Priaulx finished the season level on points. Priaulx only won the European title as a result of having won 5 races to Dirk's 3. So every single point, every time you go out on the track, could be the difference between being a champion and being one of the other guys that nobody quite remembers. Dirk Muller still holding off Priaulx, still staying right on the run down to the Adelaide hairpin. There's no way through on the inside. Priaulx's right up behind him.
Will he touch him?
He's got to stay right with him. He can't go out wide because Garcia will come slotting up the inside and he'll get knocked down with not enough laps to get back. So he has to stay tight to the right line rather than the racing line, which would be on the driver's left as they come down there. And it's really a rock and a hard place at the moment. He can't force the issue with Dirk because he can't leave the door open for Garcia, or God forbid Garcia and Farfus to get by him.
Yeah, it's getting very edgy towards the end of this race, and Andy's now trying everything he knows to somehow or other get past Dirk nice and cleanly without any problems. There's none of this pushing and shoving and knocking people off at all with Andy. He's one of these guys who'll always do it, you know, as a gentleman, shall we say, and he'll be trying everything. Now, even here, Dirk will sure stay on the inside, yes, very much covering the inside and leaving Andy on the outside. There's getting very, very little time left now for a change of position to happen here, and Andy looks as though he's going to have to settle for 3rd rather than make that all-important charge up to 2nd place.
Well, again, you know, the difference between 2nd and 3rd might be crucial for Dirk Muller in the end, but Jörg Muller, with a double race win, will certainly have closed on the lead pair in the championship. Dirk holds off Andy Priaulx to the line, Garcia 4th, and Farfus 5th. Well, that's a very fair... Oh, my goodness me! Dirk Muller sideways across the line and gets collected by one of the Alphas. What? Nobody saw that. What was going on with that? Sitting down on the right rear.
I don't know, he seemed to be spinning at some reason. Dirk, I don't know why, but he seemed to be spinning now, as he was going down the straight, and then all of a sudden the Alpha, as he was coming past, just had to catch him as he was going past. Here we are. And, oh, he's been, I don't know why, he was being turned around.
Was he doing a stoppie in front of the team and Andy Priaulx couldn't stop and avoid him? I don't know. I have no idea what happened there.
For some reason, he was on the inside of the circuit, and he was turning around. I seen Andy right behind him, and with the spin, when he spun round, the Alfa Romeo had nowhere to go, and that was a problem.
Dirk Muller in 2nd in race 2, Andy Priaulx 3rd, Antonio Garcia 4th, Farfus the best of the Alphas, with multiple champions Giovinardi and Tarquini behind Jordi Canet, with James Thompson, the reigning British touring car champion, in 9th, with the 2 further Seats behind him. Colciago, the top non-factory car, Nicola Laurini's 13th, the best result of the season for Chevy. Tom Coronel, best of the independents, will be excluded after the race.
I was so happy with my car. We just used the new set of tires in the 2nd race because I thought I was fast enough to do it with used sets in the 1st race. So just a perfect race. I was lucky with the overtaking, so happy.
And Dirk Muller won't be too depressed either. Came here as the championship leader and still is.
I got problems the last couple of laps and got big vibration, and I wasn't sure what it is actually, and I crossed over to my team and wanted to really, you know, to be happy, and showed, you know, my hands, and while this something really hard broke in the rear, and I lost the rear of the car and spun in front of the pit wall, and honestly I don't know what happened actually, so I'm really scared actually.
And so Augusto Farfus needing a change of fireproof underwear as well after that. Dirk and Jörg lead, Andy Priaulx third, Garcia fourth. Best of the Alfa drivers at the moment, Tarquini 2 points ahead of teammates Thompson and 3 ahead of Farfus. Best of the manufacturers, BMW leading by nearly 20 points at the moment. Jörg Muller winning race 1 and race 2 here at Magny Cours. Dirk Muller alongside the championship leader, closest to camera. Tom Coronel on the top step, he was the independents winner. And there's Andy Priaulx third in the second race here. Bruno Vollistik from the ACO on the microphone on the podium here. Man who is the press officer and commentates at Le Mans for the 24 Hours of Le Mans and for the Le Mans Endurance Series. Something that these drivers also know plenty about. First met Dirk and Jörg years ago racing in the, well, in Dirk's case, in the American Le Mans Series, racing as a Porsche factory driver in those days. And Jörg racing for BMW for many years. Raced in their LMV12s for the Schnitzer team, and then the V8 GT3R BMW, and now in their S2000 car. Tommy Coronel, well, I think the list of what he hasn't raced is probably shorter than what he has raced. And the words Tom Coronel and Party Animal never far away at the end of the season or when there's something to celebrate either, is it? You always read stories like, and then there was Tom Coronel in a dress. Or, you know, of that ilk, don't you?
I remember meeting him at a party at the end of last year, and yes, what you've described is exactly right. Tom and parties do go together. Yeah. He does enjoy them. Indeed he does.
So a welcome return to Magny Cours for Coronel, because of course this race weekend last year saw his fiancée Pauline Swartz heavily injured in a practice crash, and glad to report that she has made a full recovery from that. Unfortunately, Mrs. Haven, who injured herself very much the same time, is still wandering around in a leg frame, but not to worry. So there's our 3 BMW drivers that swept the podium in race 2, and Tom Coronel in his GR Asia Seat Toledo Sport, the top independent in the 4th round of the World Touring Car Championship. So as they get busy with the fizzy, just time to remind you that next time out it is at Silverstone. They will be racing rounds 5 and 6 of the championship. We'll be there enjoying scorching May sunshine in Northamptonshire. Time to go for Richard Veron. Unfortunately said time to go. I'd like to have stayed longer, but I will come back. And can we go, he says?
Okay.
Yeah, ground staff saying, why don't you go Paris-Nice in a helicopter instead of just to Paris? Of course, one of the French cycling classics. So next time out, rounds 5 and 6 of the championship, Silverstone in England, supporting the centenary TT. We'll see you there. Martin Haven and David Leslie for both the races and the qualifying session. Bye for now.